Call this meeting to order at 6:01.
The,
6:02.
the phones. How much money was the fire station gonna be on?
Hey, ready?
Let me talk to you about that.
Thank you. Okay. All right, we're gonna pledge of allegiance first. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go right along. We'll start off with roll call. Monica Salinas.
Here.
Right. Carlos Fernandez. Not here. Chuy Olivares.
Here.
Myself, President. Joe Benavides. Here. Luis Hinojosa. Is he logging on or is he going virtual?
We have the link and the WebEx should be on, so we'll be logged in.
Luis, are you on? He's on? Okay. Rick Laurel.
Present.
Arturo Dominguez.
Present.
Felix Canales.
Present.
David Puig. Is he on?
I'm representing him.
Okay, all right, I can be done. I'm sorry, what was your name?
Anita Ramirez.
Dominguez. All right. Hector Alanis.
Here.
Carlos Martinez. Not here yet. Okay, Joe Martinez.
Here.
Jason Hinojosa. Is he? Please.
We were questioning some of the active and not active agencies, organizations. Ken did some research, and that agency has been inactive since 2019. So, depending on your directive, we've tried reaching out to Mr. Hinojosa, to the president, but it doesn't exist. So there's no one to appoint or reappoint. So since 2019, that organization doesn't exist, and
Is he still on or because of that or?
he hasn't answered her phone calls. So who's gonna reappoint if there's no precedent? So we can
No one?
discuss that.
Good, okay.
Yep.
All right, Jerry Maldonado.
I'm here on behalf of LMCA. Priscilla Johnson.
Okay, Juan Jose Garcia.
Here.
Okay, Columbia's vacant. Eduardo Villarreal.
Here.
Pedro Felipe Lozano Martinez.
Here.
All right. Enrique Moran. Not here. And Karen Comse. Roll call done. All right, any public citizen comments? Red Duffer, no comments. Okay, everybody received their minutes? Everybody reviewed them? Motion to approve? Second? Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, items for discussion. I've been asked if we can go ahead and move up the,
presentation motion.
presentation, yeah,
Move
okay.
Presentation up.
Yeah, please, okay, do the motion. Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, we move up the bridge update. The bridge report. There you go.
All right, good evening. For those of you that have not met me, I am Joe Nebb, the city manager for Laredo. And tonight we're hoping to present to you the bridge rate study that we have put together. We have addressed it with the council one time, and this is the next step, is to have the conversation with the Port of Entry Committee. And so we're going to walk through the study. And I think the good thing about it, I think we got the study out to everybody. Everybody has at least had the document and everything. What we're going to try to provide you tonight is a little bit more of the detail and the context of why we presented the report in the way it is. Mr. Mata will help with this. his department, in the finance department, actually helped do a lot of the analysis and the adjustments within the structure. And so the idea is that as we walk through this process, and you know it's a big issue, we have to make sure that we walk through this correctly. We have to make sure that we've looked at all the different pieces and everything else for that. And so all we're really doing is laying it on the table at this point in this juncture. We want to make sure that we explain to you why we are putting out the information in the way it is, and then we'll walk through it and then answer any questions that we can. What I would hope that you would do at that point is take some time to think about it, walk through all of that, because I think almost all of you are business people in one sense or another, and so the nature of this thing is that's what the city's trying to operate within their bridge system as well too. So I just got a few of the higher end slides that I'll go over a little bit, and then I'll bring Mr. Mata up and keep all the tough questions for him. I'd appreciate it. I'm kidding. Anything we can do to answer any of those questions and everything, but I want to make sure that you have all the information and the data. I'm going to wait till we get our chat, our Zoom box all put together. All right. Shared screen, I guess, huh? Okay. This slide here is a very, I put it into one format. Our current annual revenue for the bridge for this last year was $89,032,617. That's our current annual revenue. By year 4, the required revenue that we need in order to keep up with the World Trade Bridge expansion, the Columbia Bridge expansion, we have planned a software overhaul of our toll system within that. That's a $24 million project. We have operational costs that have climbed. And so the idea is by year 4, we need to be at $152 million. Over the next 4 years, we need to generate $63,180,908 more in order to cover what our estimates are based upon the World Trade expansion, all those projects, all those operational needs. All right, and so we want to make sure that you understand on the broadest level, this is what where we're trying to move to that. I think our last rate increase that we did, and we've never done a complete rate adjustment for every classification that utilizes the bridge before. 2017 was the last adjustment that we made, and I believe that was on the commercial side. You go back a few more years from that, and I think we had some pedestrian and we had some non-commercial vehicles as well too. So it's been over the 10 years, we have never done all the classes at the same time and looked at that model. And so as we walk through this report and we provide that justification, that's where we're at. But what we are trying to generate, based upon our analysis, is we're trying to generate $63 million more over that 4-year window. And I'll talk a little bit about how we've positioned out the rate adjustments as well too at this time. This slide here is just a reminder as to what is actually driving all of it. The operational drivers is the staffing and the bridge operations. Technology and cybersecurity is another big thing that we have to look at. Maintenance and safety of our bridges. And then the general fund obligations tied to the bridge activity as well too are the operational side. On the capital side, we have the bridge expansion project. We have 2 big bridge expansions. We're going to expand the nature of those. The inspection technology upgrades, the things that we've done over the years and everything, the fast lanes and everything, all those things make our bridge what it is, Port Laredo to the level it is. I would say that the higher technology that we have, the costs don't go down, they just shift us to what we need in order to maintain that infrastructure. Of course, traffic flow improvements, we've talked a lot about that because time is money for all of you that are in the industry, and so we want to be able to cross the bridges as quickly as we can. I think that's why the expansion, one of the main things about the expansion is to take care of our current traffic, not what we think the future traffic will be. And then, of course, infrastructure resiliency and redundancy within that structure. So what we tried to do here on this slide was to break it down for operational drivers and the capital drivers. Those are the 2 things that are impacting our business service, okay? The city's approach is a corrective, not a reactive one. We are trying to build in, rather than to do this one model, and every city gets into this a lot. I mean, those of you that may have lived elsewhere or anything, cities are inherently slow at doing utility rate increases. They don't do it until it's needed. We don't usually do the rate increases till we're needed. But what we are trying to do is that we're trying to eat that $63 million over a window of time rather than one big hit. Because I think that's where we're trying to, our conversation with the industry as well too. And I know that a lot of our industry have do agreements in March, and a lot of them do it in September. So we're trying to be respectful of all of that as we try to maintain the integrity of our bridge. So we are looking at a 3-year corrective structure within that, so that we align the revenue over that 3 years. And we are recommending a cost of living adjustment, just like we have done within our other rate structures, so that we don't have to come back and do large fluctuations in future rates. And so every year we have built in essentially a cost of living adjustment of 3% within this structure, so that when we actually we get our realignment for what our expenses have been growing to, we put it in the perspective. We think that will be sufficient in order to move forward. That also has the ability, though, that if anything happens within the industry, because we've had those conversations here recently with the bond referendum and the tariffs and everything else that impacts the services, we have the ability within that elected body to not initiate future increases as well too. But the sad part is that if we ignore it, then we run into it 5-8 years later, where we're saying, how are we going to make these costs work? And so we tried to build in a 3-year corrective structure within this. And then we added in the standardized COLA for this normalized cost of living structure, and trying to make sure that we are very standardized within our process for the industry to be able to react to this. Because based upon those contracts and everything, we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to go out there and set the conditions in the right way. Let's see if I can get my mouse to work again. There we go. All right, why now? There's been a lot of talk about where the rates need to be. If the rates are kept low, then we put an undue stress on everything else. And I think what we have seen over the period of time is that the city is growing by about 11%. Our new revenue that is coming in based upon our property taxes, our sales taxes, is only about 5%. So that means we're growing faster than we're able to replace the revenue within that structure. So that's why it's very important to understand that we have to look at rates. We have to make sure that they stay valid for the part of our service as well too. If we don't, then the capital gets deferred as well too. And I can show you more examples on the city side than I can ever show you on the bridge side. But and I'll digress just a little bit, because our streets need more funding put into it on the general fund side. All of our streets. We're investing about $4 to $5 million a year on our streets, and we should be investing about $30 million. We've not found a solution to that yet. But that's an example, because even with you that run your businesses, you find a way in order to balance that out for that, and we can't defer capital. I think the number one port of entry, we need to make sure that we are doing the right things for that. We want to make sure that the maintenance doesn't lag, because if the maintenance lags, then of course at some point in time something breaks when we don't want it to break. And I know we had trouble with that software system on the Mexican side again today. And so, and that's supposed to be a new system, but we're getting there. And then the technology falls behind. I think Laredo has done a very nice job of trying to stay on the front cusp of that technology within the fast lanes and everything. And we want to make sure that it remains there. We don't want to delay this. We want to have the right conversations at the right time, rather than waiting until we hit the wall and then trying to have a conversation under that duress of that. And right now, I believe that we're at that precipice that we're going to try to cross for that. This is important for the trade community as well too, because as we looked at our race, as we looked at where we want to bring the race, we have tried to stay within conditions of what the other bridges are doing, even though we're the #1 port of entry. And so I want to make sure that you understand that we're not trying to price ourselves out of a market. We're trying to balance that within the equation as well too, and trying to move ourselves forward with where we're at. We're investing to maintain the speed, the reliability, and the capacity. We're trying to make sure that our bridges continue to operate effectively. For the commercial side, which a lot of you are involved in, we have 2.5 million non-commercial vehicles that cross our bridges. We have a large number of pedestrians that cross us. So we have different classes. It's not just about the commercial side, it's about our entire bridge system. And I believe that truly that what I want to do is I want to have the hard conversation first so that we can all move forward together with that. And I think that's what we've heard about from the industry. I think everybody understands that we can't stand stagnant within that process. It's really about how we're going to move forward. And I think that's the challenge that we have. So the predictability matters within that structure as well too. And so here's a slide, and this is where, once I get done with this slide, we'll move in this thing. This is our proposed toll rate increases over that 3-year window. I described exactly why we're looking at that, and then how we're going to utilize the 3-year COLA from it goes through year 1 through year 4, but the only thing that we're looking for the increase after year 3 is the 3% COLA. But you can see the 2-axle non-commercial, the 5-axle commercial, and the pedestrian. Those are just some of the examples because we have a lot of different axle for different vehicles sizes for that. Year 0 is where we are currently at. And that's the per axle, and then the yellow column is for the total. Year 1 is one of the larger jumps within that as we try to stabilize within our system. You can see the jump from that axle to the next axle. Year 2 is a smaller jump. Year 3 is even a smaller jump, and then it becomes that 3% COLA. So, and I think that most everybody really wanted to know what that impact is to the services that some of you actually provide for and everything. And so this is where we believe that we need to be in order to meet the $63 million income that we need to bring into the bridge system. So with that, this is my last slide for that broad overview of that information. I'll let Mr. Mata come up. He'll talk about what else you can find in the book and everything, and then we're happy to answer any other questions and everything. Again, we don't have to have all the answers today. There is time for that conversation. I know a lot of people have been having conversation with individual council members and everything. That's all good. All that communication is good. I just wanted to make sure that we provide you the context as to why we built the study in the way it did. Okay, thank you. Mr. Mata?
Thank you, Snap. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Francisco Mata, Frank Mata, Director of Finance for the city. As Mr. Neb said, we're here to have dialogue, and we're here to just answer any of the questions. A few weeks ago, we sent that study so give you folks the opportunity to read over it, and so that way we can have some constructive dialogue this evening. So that's what I'm here to do, and how we got to these numbers, why they're relevant. And some of the conversations that I had as before the meeting started, one of the most common questions that we're asking is the methodology we use to come to these numbers. So if I may, I'd like to walk you through that methodology if anyone has any other questions. Okay. If I can get to the slide. Okay. Bless you. So this is a two-part methodology. I'd like to lure you to the one of the last pages on the Appendix A of the report that you have in front of you. And if you go to the third paragraph, I'd like to read the statement. So this is a two-part data-informed baseline local demand on city services methodology. So the two-part baseline local demand methodology does not attempt to enumerate every unique vehicle operating within the city or at any given time. Instead, it establishes a transparent and repeatable framework for estimating relative service exposure between local and non-local vehicle populations using independently sourced traffic data and clearly stated assumptions. Okay, so I want to lay that out. So basically what we did here is we took those services that are impacted by the bridge, which are traffic, vehicles. So we need to look for data sources. What are our established data sources? So we have 3 established data sources that are reliable. We have Webb County vehicle registers. Those are the local population of vehicles being registered to Webb County. Then the next data sets that you have is the southbound numbers. We capture that data for all our southbound traffic going southbound, whether it's commercial or non-commercial. And the U.S. Department of Transportation, our counterparts, the federal government, they track all the northbound traffic. So you have those 3 data sets. So I'm going to walk you through the methodology here. So this year for fiscal year 2025, there were in the period of 12 months, we had 8 million vehicles going northbound. This is according to the U.S. Department of Transportation. We averaged those out about 674,000 vehicles a month. Southbound vehicles, the Laredo Bridge System recorded just about the same 8 million vehicles. So they're in par. In a 12-month period, it's about 677. You have your 1.3 million vehicle traffic going northbound and southbound. Now, according to the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, Webb County has, in 2024 December, has 228,000 vehicles registered. Okay? Out of those 228,000 local vehicles that are registered in Laredo, we're making our first assumption. Our first assumption is that 20% of those vehicles utilize the bridge system monthly. Okay? So that's our first assumption. That puts us right at 45,000 vehicles out of that 228,000. Now, our next assumption, it's the frequency. Out of those 45,000 vehicles, we're assuming that they make 2 crossings a month. Okay? So if we take that, we do our math, it puts us right at about 91,000 vehicles. Now, those 91,000 vehicles, they go southbound and then come back. So I have to multiply that by 2. That puts me at 182,000. So what I have to do, we have to pull that number, 182,000 vehicles, from that data set, southbound and northbound. So you subtract that from the 1.3, puts us right at around 1.64051. That number right there is the assumed monthly total of non-Webb registered vehicles utilizing city services. Are we tracking? Okay. Now, baseline demand on city services. We have, that translates to, you take that 1.164 million vehicles for non-Webb registered vehicles, and then you say, okay, 228,000 vehicles are Webb County registered vehicles. So what is our baseline distribution? And that's where we come up with that number. So 16%, the assumption is that 16% of those vehicles crossing the bridge are Webb County, and 84% of those vehicles are non-Webb County vehicles.
Meaning that they live in Mexico and they cross over?
Could be.
But don't you think it's a very low percentage you're assuming? I would think 80% of the vehicles registered here in the county will cross through Laredo, and not just 2 times a month. I would say 3 times a day or 2 times a day.
80%?
Most probably.
Majority of them run from,
Aggressive.
majority from Laredo. I mean, they do back and forth, the border crossers. So, I mean, if you deal with customs, they can probably give you a better accurate number instead of dealing with the assumptions. And I know that those guys are all Laredo. I mean, that's just like our sister city. We always compare them. But taking into consideration the numbers that you're working on, it says, I think there was a word in there, and one of the things is international through traffic. And it's not through traffic, it's local traffic, but it's just from Road, Laredo.
That's 2 crossings a day,
Yeah,
if not
2 to
more.
3 crossings a day,
If not
and
more.
that, on the average 2, depending on the time frame.
Pero, pero ¿por qué estamos suponiendo datos si tenemos los datos reales de lo que está pasando? O sea,
But they're making assumptions on, because of the registered
Estamos
and
haciendo las
unregistered,
assumpciones
based on the
en
percentage,
la
that's all
cantidad
they're
de
doing.
cruces. O sea, so,
Right now, they're basically
los
just
datos-
looking at the bridge as to what the bridge, provides accessibility to all these vehicles and everything. And you have a lot of people coming and going. Did you ever take into consideration, what all these, particular crossings have an effect on the sales tax in this city? Because they all come in and they just don't cross, they just buy, they sell, I mean, they eat restaurants, they buy, so fuel with gas and so forth. So maybe that's something that, you know, there could be, the impact on the sales tax by these particular crossings has got to be significant.
right, and hence is why when I started the conversation, this is a methodology. So by us assuming or attempting to assume or enumerate the different
Right.
situations, how do you quantify that without data sets? So the only way you can quantify and make a reasonable or an educated guess or assumption is through data sets. And you have 3 sets of data sets. You have Webb County, local registered vehicles. You have southbound numbers, and you have northbound numbers. So all we're trying to do is establish out of that pool.
I mean, these are good numbers. They're good numbers.
Yeah. And again, so, but it's definitely, that's why we highlighted in yellow. The assumption is, we believe that 20% of the 228,000 vehicles that are registered go across. That is the assumption. That amounts to 45,000 vehicles. So the argument is 80% of
Yeah.
the 220, so almost 100% of the
And let me tell you
population.
why I go with the 80%. Back in September last year, I just made a study with CBP on how many B1 drivers were crossing through the Laredo Bridge, and it was only 18% of B1. So those trucks means they are going from the origin to destination. So I will say the 80% are local transfer crossing every day.
Right, so the assumption takes commercial and non-commercial. It doesn't distinguish between commercial and non-commercial. This is the entire pool of vehicles that are registered to Webb County.
So wouldn't the number be greater? Because we have trucks going back and forth 2-3 times a day instead of cars going maybe once
You
or
would
twice a
think,
day.
so how many of those vehicles are registered in
Well,
Mexico and
even
not
so.
registered?
No,
in
but
Webb
you have to
County?
be registered in the county in order for them to get the permit to go across the bridge.
Right.
So even they are registered in Mexico, they have to be registered in
Okay,
the.
fair enough, so that's part of that 20%, that 228,000 vehicles.
I mean, I don't know if considering that vehicles will go to the 80, but what do you think?
No, but the reason why with the vehicles, because a lot of them are Mexican brokers who go back and forth, and they have to drive a Mexican licensed vehicle, they can't go across in a US licensed vehicle, so, and they live here on the US side as well, so that's another number that you guys,
Right, and so
based on
that-
your assumptions.
And that's the non-web registered vehicles that we're talking about.
Yeah, but they also have web registered vehicles that they don't go across with, yeah, so.
Correct, and we don't disagree with that. So again, so going back to the methodology is, what are our reliable data sets?
No.
And that's what we're trying to establish, because we
So,
can make
In the
assumptions.
228, that includes commercial vehicles that are registered,
Commercial and.
Everything.
Everything.
every single vehicle.
Car,
So if you go to
truck.
the Texas Department, the Texas Department of Motor Vehicle, and you go to the website, and go to, they have it by county, registered vehicles, they don't distinguish between commercial and non-commercial. And so for Webb County, they have 228,000 vehicles. So that's a solid data set.
Okay.
All right.
We keep on going.
Yeah.
Getting the numbers.
So this is a great argument.
Yeah, I don't wanna get to the
Dialogue.
numbers, 'cause-
So again, so those are our data sets, and that's how we're coming with the methodology. It's like, what is a good set of data sets? U.S. Department of Transportation, which is keeping track of all the volume going northbound, both commercial, non-commercial, northbound. We keep track of all the southbound, but that's a good number. And Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, right? So those are 3 data sets, and that's what's being played. Now, we certainly can have dialogues on the percentages as how many vehicles we believe that cross, and that's why I highlighted those in yellow. So as we come up with these conclusions, then we can certainly tweak these numbers, okay? So the first thing we establish is, all right, so from the entire data set, we're assuming based on this methodology that 16% of the vehicles are Webb County registered. 84% of those vehicles are not Webb County, okay? All right, so we go to this next slide. So we have 3 columns here. The first column considers our entire budget for those 4 services that are being impacted by those vehicles. Police, fire, streets, and traffic, okay? The second column considers only the percentage or the budget as it pertains how it's being impacted. So what we did, we reached out to police department, EMS, and we requested, they have pretty high-speed software. Out of all the calls that you guys get, what are those calls, how many of those calls are traffic related? And this is not just accident, go direct traffic, you know, someone's giving birth.
This is throughout the entire city.
Throughout the entire city, yes. This is because we're dealing with data sets, so it's the entire pool. So they came back and they said, out of the entire police, the entire traffic calls they get, 42% of the traffic calls, 42% of the calls are traffic-related calls. So what we have to do is recognize that 42% and not the 100%, which is the 93 of that first column. And so that translates to only 39.7 million of their budget pertains to traffic related, okay? The same thing with fire. Only 17% of their calls are traffic related. So did the same thing. Out of their 100% of their budget, only 13 million is traffic related. Streets, 100%. Traffic, same thing, 100% impacts their service because we're dealing with vehicles. So it considers traffic related to be $65 million budget that we have to assume. So that's my entire budget that we have to consider when we carry over the methodology numbers, the 84-16 break. So the argument here is, out of that 65.9 million budget, 84% is the bridge cost to service the bridge of that extra non-registered.
You said the police have metrics that break it down to good detail.
Yes,
right?
they have software.
Can they go down into detail and not just the entire city, but the trucking industry, just to see how many are truck-related incidents?
We can do that, but what you do is you break the entire matrix, the methodology, because now you're pulling data sets.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's why we're focusing on the bridge system right now. We're trying to allocate the funds, and we're gonna have our discussions here in a few minutes on that, so.
Right, so what I'm trying to do is present the logic as to how we came up with the numbers, and then, but once you start dissecting, you know, oh yeah, it was from Monday through Friday and then Saturdays, then now you're using different variables and you're going outside the scope of what the.
That's what this report, I mean, I'm sorry, man, I can't go. This
Well, if
report kind of discusses the entire logic, it talks about the entire city, and then Mr. Nev was talking about, you know, the full amount, 89 million that's coming out there, but then 50% of it goes to the general fund, so you're only talking about half right now. So whenever we're going on the half, we still need 63 million to recoup, but we're looking at those nominal numbers that we're focusing on here in a few minutes. So, I mean, the metrics, you're going out there and you're not breaking down the entire details, and whenever you try to sell this report to us, it talks about the entire city. And, you know, God bless, we're all citizens as well, but right now we're focusing on our business, and we're trying to focus on the entire industry that we're working on.
Right, but, so the bridge does service the entire population, not just the commercial, and that's what we're trying to do. Who uses the bridge?
You still have more metrics to share?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one part of it.
Just adding to your comment, like, we know that the entire city uses the bridges, but not the entire city uses as much as the industry that provides employer to the citizens. So this study must be in detail because we need to know if we can just increase on the non-commercial or the commercial. so we can have also that option. Not just a standard increment to all the
Right.
tolls.
So what happens with that thought process is that, so yes, I can give you that number for southbound. Yes, I can give you that number northbound. But then my other data set, Webb County, they don't provide that data set. So what we're trying to do is establish so that we have a policy-driven methodology. So where anyone, if I get hit by a bus, they can come and say, you know what, I'm gonna get this data set, and this data set, and make an assumption. But if we start picking, then yes, I can do it for southbound, yes, I can do it for northbound, but I can't do it for Webb County.
For the sake of time, we'll let you move forward. I'm sorry about that.
I'm sorry?
For the sake of time, we'll keep on running the metrics.
So that's how we came up with the $65 million that is needed. And that's just to replenish the services being rendered by these four services, which are directly impacted by traffic. Okay? So that's how we came up with our metrics. Okay, now I move on to the inflation, the cost of the dollar. So for non-commercial, and you can find this, let me get you a page. You can find that on page 24. So for non-commercial, the last rate adjustment was back in 2014.
Well, that's for cars though.
We're
Correct.
checking everything that they do.
Yeah,
It's the whole thing.
the whole thing. So right here in this spreadsheet, in this chart, I'm breaking it down by commercial and non-commercial. Yes. So what you have in front of you is in 2014, that was the last rate adjustment for non-commercial. If we were to take the COLA adjustments, consumer price index increase, we should be in year 2026 at $2.42 per axle. And we haven't made that change. So respectfully, I would argue that industry standards, it would be at 250. Okay. Same thing for commercial. Commercial, the last adjustment we had was back in 2018. And those are the increments of the dollar of what the dollar value of that rate would have been. Now in 2026, we should be at 558. So you can argue it to the nearest 25 cents, 550 or 575. I would take the 575.
We could round down.
Yeah. So that's what this chart is trying to establish. Okay, the value of what that original rate. This is the last time we made that rate adjustment. Okay, we tracking? All right.
So that's how you got to the rates that you want to go up
In
to.
part, this only accounts for the value of the dollar.
This is
Right,
just
For
COLA.
inflation.
Okay.
That's it. Okay, so if we were just to make the inflation to account for where we should be, to have the rate it's worth from what it was back in 2014 and 2018, this is where we should be, just considering that.
Is
And
that
then-
inflation rate that we would like it to be correlate closely to what you're projecting as well? Right?
Pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close?
Okay. Can Mr. Neb alert you to the investment requirements we have, and you've been given updates on those? We have about $50 million in capital improvements, $150 million for the bridge expansion lined up, and $25 million for update on the toll system modernization. Of course, this is how we're going to roll it out. Go back to that. Any questions on that slide? Okay, and so, let me walk you through. All right, this data just reflects our performance for this is pretty much our change on the northbound, southbound numbers. lot of the dialogue that's been had is the tariffs, how that has impacted us. So the impact has been minimal. It's been 0.8%. So
Thanks
How
to
did
the
you
way.
come up with that?
You're saying that the impact is minimum?
it's minimum on traffic. So there's the numbers. Those
On
are your
traffic.
commercial numbers.
Which is decrease or flow by 3% if I'm not mistaken, especially on the northbound.
Okay.
But if you add that decrease of 3% plus the 4 or 5% that we should increase in a yearly basis that we have been increasing, that's 8%. That to me it's not minimum. It's almost a 10%.
It's
I'm just throwing it there. Like to me, it's not
and those numbers
minimum.
are for your
CBP?
operation. CBP.
CVP.
Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
so northbound numbers are, I'm sorry, southbound numbers are 2.9. Non-commercial are 5.8. That's because this thing, if I can get rid of this, how do I get rid of this?
Can't, you're projecting.
I'm sorry?
You can't, you're projecting.
Okay. So these are southbound numbers.
South and northbound numbers are very similar.
It's very similar.
Yes.
The trucking industry has different numbers, I believe, right?
Sí, en algunos casos son 15 o 20% menos. Pero sí,
Menos?
así es.
¿De dónde están sacando esos números?
De las asociaciones de agentes aduanales.
De las agencias aduanales.
No, la asociación.
De la asociación. Y de la
Todo
asociación.
sale de aduanas. Ellos los agarran con los cruces de aduanas de los pedimentos y yo los agarro con los cruces de entradas de aduanas.
Pero es para comercial nada más.
Sí, estamos
No
hablando de
están
comercial.
considerando lo que no es comercial. Entonces aquí en lo comercial, hacia el sur, estamos diciendo que no comercial son 5 millones de vehículos, comercial son 2.9 millones. El cambio entre el año 24, año fiscal 2025, es de 3 millones a 2 millones.
Well, the reason they're talking about the trucking industry is because you mentioned the truck tariffs. The truck tariffs they're not gonna mess up with Paquito coming
Right,
over to
but
buy
I
stuff,
need to
but
get
they
to
will
that next
affect the
slide.
trucks.
If I can get them there. Where's the IT folks not moving forward? Okay, so those are your northbound numbers. Okay.
Are you stuck?
Hmm?
You're stuck?
No, it moved now. So these are the northbound numbers.
Oh.
Southbound numbers. So if you want to focus on commercial, southbound numbers are 2.9 in 2025. That's the data we collected from our bridge system. Northbound numbers, according to U.S. Department of Transportation, 2.9. Okay. This is combined. They're right in par, relatively.
But then you agree with me. You are just considering like a slightly decrease, but as a port, Laredo has always been increasing year by year. So you have to add that increase that we didn't have because any reason.
So this slide is reflecting southbound numbers. Southbound numbers for the entire scope, for non-commercial and commercial. So the change between 2024 and 2025 was 0.8%. That's hard data. And that's data that we capture on southbound. That's what this number reflects.
What should it have been?
What should it have been?
That's what she's talking about, the
Yes.
missing part of what it should have been. It jumped 200,000 approximately from 23 to 24, and then it dropped 100,000 in 25. That means you're dropping 300,000 in the last 2 years. Does that make sense?
Go back to your chart.
Every year you're having an
Yes.
increase, and then 1 year you drop. So you're missing out on that next year's increase, plus you're adding the decrease of the.
So I'm dropping from
Thank you.
2024 to 2025.
Right.
That's my drop.
Right.
Look
But
at
your
the
drop,
20.
your drop is only, you're only showing the drop, you're not including what it should have been.
We are
that
not
make sense?
including
Right,
the
yeah, I get that. So,
Average
right, so
increase.
what I'm
just
trying-
look at the 23 and 24. They have an increase of 14%. The following year we have a decrease, so we should have an increase that year. So we are missing the supposed increase that we have to have in 2025, plus the decrease,
For commercial,
for everything,
for everything.
for everything. I mean, if you're talking of everything,
Yeah, so the
Everything
top,
is
the
decreasing.
the top number is everything, it's combined,
Yeah.
yes, southbound, correct.
everything decreased, so, and this has never happened on the last 10 years. We have never had a decrease in the whole, bridges, commercial and non commercial.
Did you understand what I was trying to explain? Did I explain it
Did
correctly?
have an impact, that's what we're saying.
No, certainly, they had an impact,
Yeah.
yes,
No,
absolutely.
it just sounded
But
like
what I'm saying is
it
that
was
they
very
had,
minimal. It was
according
not.
to the data, they had minimal impact from
And we're
one year
saying,
to
look
the
at the
other.
data where in the past 10 years, it has been having an increase. And so we're asking you to not only consider the decrease this year, but add that
projected
to
increase.
the
Well, I mean, to-
increase that we were seeing annually.
Right, so to that argument, so you have back in 2022, you had a combined volume of 7 million vehicles. So in 2025, you had an increase.
I'm lost. What, again?
We have an increase.
Compared to 22.
Compared to 2022, because that's I guess the dialogue that's being had right now. So in 2022, you had combined volume of 7 million vehicles. It kept increasing between 2022 and 23. In 2024, you had a 14% increase. Right? Then from 2024 to 2025, it had a slight increase.
Slight decrease.
Decrease, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, but it was projected to have another 14%.
No,
Certainly.
another 7%.
Right, certainly.
Let's add
So,
7.
so that's projections.
Yeah.
Correct. These are true numbers. That's captured information.
So I will say it is the decrease, it was 7 plus your 0.08. On a real life, the real decrease that we are experiencing as an industry, it's a 7.08%.
If it's going up 7% a year, and then you lost 0.8, then you lost
All right,
7.8.
yes, I got you. Yes, okay, yes, I'm tracking. Lost me. Okay. But so what this slide is reflecting is 0.8% in volume. So,
But yeah,
Is this gonna be presented at the city council meeting or it's already?
it's already been presented, yes.
Okay, because if they see this information, they said, oh, okay, everything is good.
yeah, I
And
think,
it's not good.
what is the percentage of the increase?
What percentage are we talking about?
Percentage of the cost? Is it 7?
No, what I'm reflecting
I know.
here is traffic volume.
I'm getting
Okay,
ahead of
this is hard data. This
I know,
is-
I'm getting ahead of us
Okay.
ourselves, because if we're losing 7.1% in volume, and we're increasing 7% in pricing, then that's a huge issue with our industry.
Okay. All right, northbound volume. That didn't show a decrease. Okay, so, I guess what the dialogue is pricing yourselves out. That's one of the conversations that were being had also. Are we pricing ourselves out compared to other ports? So what we did is we did an analysis here on on how traffic flows from one port to another. So this analysis, what it does, it takes and we went to Google Maps and took different ports of destination from destination in Aguascalientes to Dallas, Aguascalientes to Houston, which is either you're gonna go eastbound or you're gonna go northbound. And so what this slide is showing is that even if on year 4, if we were to take the entire increase of the non-commercial vehicles for Laredo, it would be $8.50 for non-commercial. Okay, and $37.50. If you compare that to FAR, without FAR changing their numbers, FAR is at $5 for non-commercial, and $27.25 for commercial. So that is a $3.50 saving for non-commercial, $10.25 for commercial. Okay, so the argument here is that if you were to take that route to FAR, if you came out of Aguascalientes to go to Dallas, you would add $403 to your trip to save that $10.25. And you can find that those sheets on page 29. And this goes to Mr. Nebb's point as pricing yourselves out of the market. So we present different scenarios coming out of Guadalajara, coming out of Monterrey, Querétaro, different depending on which route you take, whether you go down, northbound or you're going eastbound. I would argue that most of the industrial corridors go up northeast as opposed to eastbound. So most of that traffic would be going to Dallas. All right, that's the scenario for FAR if we were to use the FAR bridge. So the way to read this report, again, the proposed rate per axle from year 0 to year 4. Year 4, you would be at $4.25 per axle for non-commercial and $7.50 for commercial on year 4. So that translates to Laredo being at $8.15 per non-commercial and $37.50 for commercial. Compared to FAR, if we were to take year 4, it's no change at FAR. You'd have $5 for non-commercial, $27.25, and that's where you see the savings in using that bridge as opposed to this bridge. But then again, you present the additional cost that you would incur taking those that route.
That is, of course, if FAR doesn't increase their prices, yes.
That is, of course, if FAR doesn't.
That's what I was gonna ask, because we're having these conversations, do you think other border cities are also have it on their agenda to stay up to par?
Very likely they're gonna increase, they're gonna fall. Yeah. But again, what we did is we did a worst case scenario. If they weren't to increase it and we were to increase it, what would it look like in year 4? So year 4, even at them being $3.50 for non-commercial or $10.25 being commercial, if you consider the wear and tear, fuel, I don't see myself going too far if I was going to come from Aguascalientes to Dallas.
Did you choose FAR because of the proximity or size of port?
Well, what I did is Monterrey, Nuevo León, Saltillo, that's pretty much your breakaway point, right? So from that corridor, whether you're going to go to McAllen, FAR,
Options.
right? Or you're going to go to Del Rio, Eagle Pass.
Would it be valid to use El Paso as a port of entry also because of the amount of traffic? I mean, I know it's further up, but
Correct.
think about the amount of traffic from FAR to El Paso, which one receives more.
Right, and that's a great point. But the industry, most of it is concentrated in central Mexico, Querétaro, Mexico, San Luis Potosí.
And
so that's really where everything's coming out.
The only reason I would maybe not need FAR El Paso as a reference point, but also consider how much freight would go west.
El Paso, there's no tolls on a lot of their bridges, man, so.
Also.
That's another.
Yeah. That's not, yeah.
Right, but again, so if most of the industrial port or industrial industry in the U.S. is northeast,
Midwest.
going towards Canada, northeast. So, man, these.
Question.
Mhm.
I think, yeah.
Mr. Mata, has there been any consideration on, and I know that the expansion of the bridges is, at least 2 or 3 years away, but has there been any consideration on the amount of increase of commercial traffic we're going to have and how that is going to affect us as part of the revenue?
I'm not sure I'm following. You want to go ahead and answer the question?
So we will, with the expansion of the bridges, not only is it going to be faster to cross, right? And that's the reason that the expansion is being done. But we're also going to increase the number of commercial traffics crossing both north and south because it's going to be faster, it's going to be more efficient. Have you all considered how much more revenue we're going to be getting from those tolls?
anticipated crossing,
Right,
yeah.
and we'll walk through those numbers right now, and that's part of that fee structure on that increase. Again, what we're doing is we're taking a conservative 2% increase in revenue, in revenue increase in traffic. Yeah.
Question, since you're comparing to other crossing locations, have you studied their increases over the past X amount of years?
I do have those numbers, and I'll provide you that number here in a bit. Here's another comparison, Eagle Pass. You had a question? Sorry.
Yes, I have a question over
Yeah.
the expansion, the bridge expansion. So we heard earlier from Mr. Neb, we're not being reactive. But how are we not being reactive when, or what was the anticipated action plan to cover the bridge expansion back when the application was submitted? One, and two, I understand there's a grant application being submitted to be able to reduce what the funding that the city would have to put out. If that happens, how with this number that we're looking at, that you're basing this toll increase get reduced? Like, is that being taken into consideration?
Well, that's something we can certainly have discussion over. And so right now, we can't base our analysis on grants, because we don't know if we're gonna get the grant or not.
Right.
And so,
As long as
My-
it discusses on assumptions, though.
Right.
no, correct.
And also too, you're talking about data sets, that affect, that negatively affect our city or that requires more services, but we're not talking about the outside investment that is being brought into the community. So is that gonna be taken into consideration? Because again, the industry is at its lowest right now, so it's not the time to do this. That's one thing that we're trying to convey.
Right, those are great arguments, good points. So a lot of this is basically, we go down to market share. At the end of the day, it's market share. And so the more players you bring in, the pie keeps getting sliced more and more and more and more. 10, 15, 20 years ago, there was more to eat from that pie. So that's the reality. It goes from real estate to transportation to customs brokerage. Some of the dialogue some of my colleagues were having is, oh, there's a lot of warehouse vacancies. Yeah, because we were in a build, because there's a need for it. So the market gets saturated, that's why you have an increase in inventories. Same thing with transportation services, GMS, warehouse, you name it. There's a need, and so everybody wants to come into the game, and so the slices keep getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So that's market share.
Right, my point was just, I feel like we're playing catch up at this point,
We are playing.
and so that's,
We are playing catch up.
so that's being, well, yes, but the comment was made, we're not being reactive. Yes, we are being reactive, because we're playing catch up. So what was the plan?
No.
Yeah, and I appreciate the way, the way it is. When I talk about not being reactive, what I'm trying to say is that we have time to build it out. We have to do that, and I think one of the things that gets lost in all the data and everything, and I'm gonna try to, can I get back to my slide?
Yes.
Can you get me back to that? Because I've been listening very, very well for a lot of this as well too. I want to go back to my first slide as well too. The information that I'm providing you has nothing to do with the crossings. It has nothing to do with the inflation. It has nothing to do with anything other than our current revenue for last year was $89 million. We have $225 million worth of capital improvements planned with the World Trade Bridge expansion, the Columbia Bridge expansion, the software upgrade within that, and there's $50 million more built in the plan for capital improvements. This $63 million that generated over the 4 years buys me $225 million worth of investment. So know that we're putting out debt for a longer period of time as well too. Please keep that in mind as well too when we're having these conversations. This slide here has nothing to do with the number of crossings. This slide has nothing. All it says is that this is how much money we made last year. This is how much money we're gonna need over the next 4 years. And then now the science, or the artwork, I guess, the science is this, the artwork is to go through there and say, how do we divide that number, right? That's the goal of that. Is it proactive, reactive? I guess we could argue the semantics of that. The idea though is that we don't want to hit the industry with a one-time charge. The idea is that there are so much better ways to buy this over the time. If we could have done this earlier. I did want to touch on the grants as well too. The challenge we have with federal grants is that they're generally in a reimbursable type state. They're not going to give us the money up on the front end. And I can't design a World Trade Bridge and then go and ask for the grant money and think it's going to show up. We have to have the funds in order to get there. So when you ask, you know, can we take that into consideration? We can take it into consideration for future expenses, right? Because if any grants that we get, I mean, I would hope that anybody listening from the federal government will help us pay for both of these bridge expansions. I would appreciate that. We have $150 million worth of expansions of both of those bridges. When we talk about the, you know, what is that going to do for the expansion of business as well too? The challenge is that our cost to maintain it, because we now have more lanes to deal with as well too. And so those balances are in there. That's why I wanted to bring you back to this slide. Based upon the $225 million worth of capital, based upon our operating expenses, it has nothing to do with, the subdivision is, do we charge our vehicular traffic, our non-commercial or our commercial, and we've kind of laid it across there. If you were to do the analysis on where the rates are adjusting for the 4-year window, those 2.5 million non-commercial vehicles are actually paying more percentage-wise than it is on the commercial, based upon how we've broken the criteria down in there. And so I just want to make sure I lay those other pieces out there, because I love all the data. I love all the, we wanted to make sure that we looked at everything to make sure that we brought the numbers to you. This is my dumbed down slide. For my understanding is I have this much money, I need to generate this much more, and this is how I need to get there. And so hopefully that helps explain some of that. If we get the grants, that will change the scenarios. I think it changes the scenarios, and that's why I want to be very careful about building into this thing. It's built on the assumptions today. If we get a $20 million grant, or we get a $200 million grant, $150 million is what I need right now as estimate. I'm hoping they're listening. If we can get that much funding, then it changes the scenario. It changes the process as to how to do that. These bridge expansions, I mean, we're actually having the people that are crossing Bridge 1 and 2 help pay for the bridge expansions of 3 and 4, because we work as a port. We work as one entity of that structure. That's the way the city operates. That's the way we all have to operate, right, as citizens and everything. We help contribute to all of those different parcels. So hopefully that helps a little bit with all those little side conversations that we've been having with the grants and that. If the numbers go up, it does change the dynamics of what those numbers are. My fear is that, and I have a crystal ball that sits on my desk, it only works sometimes. And so the idea is that we are hoping to make the best assumption. The hard part we have, and when you talk about the industry being, you know, challenged as well too right now, if we delay these projects, as we come out of this cycle, whatever this cycle is, we will be behind the 8 ball even farther. So that there's a balancing act within that structure. That we just have to kind of walk through that, tiptoe through that. We had the same conversations when the tariffs were first talked about as to whether or not we should affect with the bond referendum and everything else. We can balance those things out there. We could have passed the bond referendum and then not initiated it. I mean, we had that ability if our community was struggling within that. Keep your minds open with exactly where we're trying to head as well too, and then help us try to figure out exactly how we get to that point with this numbers. All the information, all the justification is good. There's different ways to get there. We're recommending a 3-year cycle. We could extend it out a little bit, because I think we have the room to get there a little bit, even in a less intrusive way. But I just want to make sure that I shared some of those things because I'm leaning on all of you as industry experts. I'm leaning on all of you as the port of entry for the city of Laredo. Help me find a way to resolve this as to how to get there. I don't believe that don't do it is not the best answer for that. That means we have a lot of good conversations coming. So thank you.
But one thing I know that we're having discussions with is, you're talking about, what if we do get those grants and we sit there and move forward with adjustments? You guys are gonna go back. Once the government gets money, they won't move back. So that's why we have that concern as well. So we're trying to balance it out both ways.
I don't disagree with that. I understand that concern.
And one of the things that we're looking at also, just going back, I'm getting ahead, but we have a resolution that was signed in '98, and that's, which offers a 50-50 split between the bridges. Why is that being looked at? Because there's a lot of operational expenses that we gotta work with the bridge. In addition to that, none of the operational expenses, the infrastructure needs that we have as well. We could tweak that out as well, and that would kinda help the trade out as well, knowing that it's still gonna share the pie, but we can kind of work together in that aspect where, hey, 60-40, go 40 to the general fund, give us 60%, and we can start focusing on infrastructure as well. So we don't have to react, we can kind of be proactive in our thought process.
Yeah, that resolution was created at the World Trade Bridge, when the World Trade came along. Our bond councils determined that we needed to know what that split was. And that's where that 50-50 came from, for that process. It actually still holds fairly true today. I think one of the conversations that we tried to do within this rate study as well too, though, is that we're the #1 port of entry. We're a city of 260,000 people. We do more commerce than a city of Los Angeles, New York, Houston. Our whole transportation infrastructure system is based upon a population-based criteria out of Texas as well too. We have pressures placed upon this small of a city I'll call us a small one as well as we can call it a large one. We have those pressures placed upon us that some of the bigger ones that we are defeating as the #1 port of entry don't have. And I think that's where we're behind the 8 ball. When we talk about reactive, we're behind the 8 ball because of that, because we are the #1 port of entry because of the amount of traffic that we have crossing our bridges that puts an undue impact on all of our infrastructure. My argument for state of Texas is that give us some additional funding because of what we are, not because of our population as well too. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think there has to be that balance within that because, having the bridges and being on the border actually create dynamics that not a lot of other cities have. I have to have a police department that operates a little bit different. I have to have a fire department that operates a little different, and our infrastructure has to be a little bit different. I did have one other, and I'll say it because it's in my head. I got to get it out, I think. So we have 30% of our commercial traffic does not have a home in Laredo. 30% of that commercial traffic. In my mind, if I can't, because somebody said, well, let's charge more on a front foot assessment on all the warehousing. Let's bring in money off the front foot on the warehousing for all these other needs and everything. We have 30% of that traffic that is coming in that the only way that we can actually make them pay for the service that they're being provided from the city of Laredo is through the toll rates. And if we can find a structure that works for that, because, in-town, out-of-town rate, I shouldn't say that out loud too far, but establishing that criteria, because those of you that live here, those of you that have your businesses here, we have other relationships that can actually make us marry in within that. I just wanted to make sure I let that out there before.
Mr. Knapp, maybe if you could explain to the board, the World Trade Bridge is about 2 years out. And once your total cost for the construction, your bids, when they come in, that's when you get ready to sell your bonds, because once you sell your bonds, you have to have the money in place in order to get your construction going. So you might want to explain to the board that your first debt payment on that loan is going to be in 1 year. So based on the $225 million dollar investment. That includes Colombia also, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then Colombia is still further out
Yes, sir.
on that, so, there needs to be some strategic movement there as far as when that bond is gonna be sold in order for that debt service to be paid. On the World Trade Bridge debt service, what would it be, the payment for per year, on that time? I think it's important for the board to know. And more strategically, is as you move down, like you said, the way this is being presented, go together with the way the structure is coming along. The board has seen all the construction, phases and so forth. So we know there needs to be an increase to pay for that debt service. But the thing here is that we move strategically, because you're gonna have the same thing happen on the Mexican side.
Yes, sir.
So it's gonna be a double whammy. So that establishment needs to be established
Yeah.
here, I think, first. So that you can be prepared with your debt service, ready to go.
Yeah.
And then when you're ready to go out on construction for, Colombia, you'll have a little bit of leverage and be able to sell the bonds to pay for that construction.
Yes, sir.
And possibly even refinance some other bonds.
Yes, sir, and thank you for that, because it did trigger another thing that I want to make sure that you understand, with this proposal and the projected rate adjustments. We're talking about this, and we're in the month of February. One of our recommendations to the council, because exactly what you're talking about, the bridges are coming along in their own time frame, right? We're all we've got everything covered up until we get into the construction phase of this, and that's where we need the funding for that. We are asking with this, if we were to follow this format, we're asking to not implement the first year until September, October of this year. Not today, not tomorrow, not once the council approves, because we don't need that funding until exactly what you're saying, is that until that point gets there. We also know that, and if you look at on the slide that's here right now, the debt service payment, which is in the middle of the page, we built in that as to branching out into that. And so the World Trade will be the first one that kind of comes online and gets there. We finish out that, I believe the construction starts in 27. Is that correct? Yeah. I think then, I was hoping that we'd go ahead and do those reports first, and then I could build up those reports, but we're all good with that. So 27, we start the construction of the World Trade Bridge, and it wraps up. And so exactly what Mr. Olivares is saying is that we have to have those funds for that bridge at that point in time. We'll go out and bond right after that for the Columbia Bridge expansion as well too, because that's another year down the line away from it. I think because the legislation that happened with the presidential permits, that's why I think we see the World Trade and the Columbia so close together as well too, because we had an opportunity where the presidential permits, we were able to get them lock and step right next to each other because of what Cruz and Cornyn and Cuellar did. And so I think that's why I think they're on top of each other. They're a lot closer than what we would normally have done. We would have liked to finish one and then actually have a little bit more time, but there's a little bit of powers that be on that structure. But exactly what you're saying is that the debt service payment goes through there. And we do try to build it in only when it comes time to need, because in my mind, and exactly what you're alluding to as well too, once we borrow the money, we've committed. We're no longer dating, we're married. And so we're right there for that. And so,
Question, how long have you guys been working on this project and the idea of a toll increase?
the bridge rate?
Yep.
We started early last year, right? June. I think we actually started having conversations when we started into the budget conversation, because I think everybody knew we needed to do something. We just did not know exactly what all we were going to do at that point in time.
And how long has it been since you started working on asking for bridge expansions? 4 years?
Yeah, I think it was at least 4 years. I've been
4
here
years.
3, and supposedly the World Trade Bridge expansion was on a fast track when I got here
Right.
a few years before that.
So 4 years ago, how was it thought that it was gonna be paid for? When we went to
That's
the
a,
federal government?
That's a very good question. Does anybody, have any history of that?
Yes, that's been the question, where did we fall short?
Yeah.
You know, for the sake of time, looking at the clock, I wanna make sure, are we almost finished with the report so we can move forward and then ask more questions or do what we have to do?
Well, yeah, and I think we talked a little bit about the timeline earlier, and just, because I said, we're not in that big of a hurry. What I would hope for is that you continue to talk about this. If we can come back next month and wrap up any other questions that you may or may not have for this structure. What I would like to do is I'd like to get it back to the council in April. We have a weird meeting structure for March, and so I think if I can get it back to the council in April to consider what the next steps are for this. And know that I actually believe that your input's going to be very important to their success as well too, as to how we walk through this thing, because I think we want to make sure that this is not done underneath a curtain, you know, an umbrella or anything. We want to make sure that everybody is aware of what we're trying to get to.
Thank you. You know, and I know you made a couple of comments earlier, and I know that as ambassadors, I consider us all as
Yes,
ambassadors.
sir.
We go to DC.
Yes, sir.
We go all these other places, and you made reference to all the other ports. And we go out there, the biggest comment that I personally get when I have discussions out there about, you know, expansions or what you're doing, they say, you're the largest in import. They say the same thing, they acknowledge, they recognize that. What are you doing with all that money? How come you guys can't get this, move ahead? So it's kind of like, you know, we want to sit there and move forward in an aspect where, you know, to prove Laredo can do this on our own sometimes. I know we need help. But we're trying to sit there and sell ourselves, but it makes it hard whenever they sit there to see the management of the funds here locally.
Well, I'll challenge that just a little bit, because I believe that Laredo has been frugal to a fault in a lot of the things. Now, we can argue, or we can talk about the semantics of different decisions that get made and everything over the years and everything, but we have, you know, they've reduced the tax rate over 10 cents over the last 10 years. We've lived off of what we thought we could afford to live off of, but I would say that the request for additional services, and the bridge system is no different than that. We continue to be asked to try to do more for what it is, and there is a balancing act in that. And I don't want to, I truly believe that Laredo was frugal to a fault, where we thought we could make it through there, and then a condition would change, whether it be 08, whether it be COVID, whether it be all those different kind of conditions that are all outside of our controls as well too. So I would just challenge that a little bit, that I truly believe that, because I'm happy to talk about anything that we've done or anything that has been done and trying to find that. I really believe that these are the conversations that the #1 port of entry should always be having anyway as well too, right? I think they're not always going to be easy conversations. I think some of them are going to be hard conversations. And I know that some of you have had conversations with council members going, well, if you would just reduce over here on this side, then it would make room on that side. And those are all good pieces. I've got a body of 9 that make those decisions every time, and no matter which year it is, they may change faces. It's still a body of 9 that helps make those decisions for us as well too.
I think that most of us, what we want to make sure of is that if there is an increase, that it goes back into
Yes, sir.
the pie, right? Because just like you're saying, I hope that they're listening to see if they lend us money. There are also people listening to
Yes,
try
sir.
to take that money.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question.
This may not be a substantial amount, but when you're talking about increasing the bridge toll, I mean, what role does pedestrian traffic go? I believe it's $1 per person.
Right.
Does that amount to a significant amount, and are you considering, you know, raising the amount
It's
that you
in there, I
charge
think
for
$1.25
Yes.
for 3 years.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, that's down the line 3 years from now.
Yeah, we are looking.
How many years has it been since pedestrian traffic has been increased? You
To,
mentioned 2014 for traffic, for pedestrian.
I'd be guessing, but I believe that the last time we adjusted a pedestrian rate may have been all the way back in 2003.
Not long.
I think it's been a long time for that. Does that sound about right? Okay.
It used to be 75 cents, then it
Yep.
went into $1.
In
I don't know how long
2005,
ago
it was 75 cents.
2005, it
So
was 75.
2013 is when it went to 175.
And just, I was gonna, I had a point, no, I don't have it anymore. I'm getting old.
Just on that note, when was the last time we had a toll increase on the commercial side?
2018.
2018.
2018, yeah.
Go ahead, one last question, I
Okay,
think.
so I just wanted to say, Mr. Nab, I appreciate all the work that's been, invested in putting this study together, and you have made great points. Some of the information we got on the traffic, those are points that absolutely need to be used, to lobby for federal funding. And not just,
Absolutely,
put it on the backs of the industry. Going back to when the next meeting is going to be, there was a recommendation from Jerry, and I don't know if it's possible, that the committee could convene prior to the next meeting for a workshop where we can all look at the study and come together, write down the questions we have for Mr. Nev for next March, for the March meeting, and then, follow up from there. But I don't think an hour is enough to
No, I
go
agree
over
with
this as a committee.
Considering you made a commitment that you come to our next meeting to finish out, because there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and hopefully we can move forward.
Right.
with that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh,
I just
ladies
wanna,
first.
I just wanna make a recommendation. I wanna see the increase in a percentage rate, so the council, see how much is gonna be impacted the industry. Because sometimes you see $1.75, they say like, it's just 75 cents. But if we see that in a percentage, that it's a 20, 30, 40 percentage, we can have a better picture of everything.
Go ahead, Arturo.
See, I
Yes, sir.
looked at this presentation. These are my comments and some of my questions. The study showed no immediate crisis, and from 2020 to 2025, past rates were sufficient, and that the increase is not justified based on historical insolvency or noncompliance. The study also admits that the traffic growth has historically offset inflation. The most controversial justification is the 85% allocation. The study argues that 16 million crossings versus 220 swept vehicles. The 84% of the police, fire, and street and traffic costs should be attributed to the bridge traffic. Has fire call data been analyzed by origin or vehicle type, which is what has not been done? The percentage of the actual incident reports are directly to the bridge related. If the assumption of the reduction of 70 or 75% does that change the required toll increase? I mean, does your calculations factor in the potential impact of the future 4-5 bridge? The new capital and debit obligations, can we get a breakdown of the total proposed increase of the 225 million in decreed components, inflation, new debt financing, expanding general fund allocations, and the expansion costs? I mean, on the pricing, given the high volume of trucks crossing the United States and Mexico border, the supply and demand principle suggests that our toll rates should be the lowest. And then the mayor also talked about incentives for the tolls. I think it's more like called like a dynamic fee. And this is where the paisano period comes through. This is where you can increase the price. I mean, they always increase our fees going to Monterrey on the highway without even letting us know. But if you can add, I mean, there was 225,000 permits issued on the Mexican side, and then they canceled 125,000 coming back. So, I mean, there's some money that can be captured there by just trucks. And the last thing is the funding. Has federal fund been excluded from this projection? If federal funding materializes, would the toll increase be reduced? What portion of the increase is really inflation restoration versus the expansion funding? And once the expansion has been fully paid for, will the tolls be lowered or not?
Thank you.
I mean, that's my questions to you.
And I can answer a couple of them, and that triggered actually my one of the comments I was going to make. I think off of Mr. Laurel's questions or comments as well too. Hopefully, you see this in our study as well too. in my mind, the bridge, even though the bridge covers some of the general fund expenses, they should be correlated back to what the bridge does to the city within that structure. And so we are trying to bring that back around there. I think that's why we talk about the police and the fire and the streets. Those are the three biggies that are out of the general fund that the bridge traffic actually has an impact on all of that. Not just the commercial traffic, but all of the bridge type traffic. So what we are trying to do is trying to tie a better correlation to the funds that are going over the general fund, because exactly what you're talking about, we don't want it to get lost in all the rest of the stuff where we can actually utilize other funds for that purpose. We hear you. We understand that. I think that's been the challenge over time, and I think we always try to find that model that works in there. With that, a lot of your questions, they are in there. I'm not the decision maker. My recommendation would always be to the council, if we can knock down that $225 million cost to the city, we don't need those other funds in order to do that. The reason that we can cover 225 million with the 63 million that we're asking for, because not all of it is just operational increased cost. It goes to that we are bonding out over a period of time in order to bring those numbers down. So I would have to say that and I guess, and this is me too, because I hate paying any fees or rates or anything. I want to pay what I have to pay in order to be covered for any of that. If we find that we have more cash than we need in order to cover the service, then that number should come down. Now, I think the challenge is exactly what you're talking about. You don't see that very often. It takes a significant event in order to have them reduce it down. I've seen things frozen. I've seen that, and we can build into this ordinance as far as how the rates go, that if we reach a certain capacity or something, we could hold it back. There are ways that we can just build it into the system. And so I think we can get you some of those answers within the further conversations that we bring. I love the questions. And I think some of that, the detail and the data in there as we look at all of that, I think that's why I always take you back to that first slide. That first slide isn't about where the rates are where the rates should be set. They are based upon this is how much we think we're going to need in order to have for the capital and the operations of that. And I couldn't find the slide again, so I quit looking. But please talk about this. If you have any questions, please contact any of us here at the City Hall as well too. We'll try to provide those answers as quickly and efficiently as possible, because we want to really get your heads working on this as well too. And I know a lot of you have been working on it already. And so I'm just glad that we got the study done so that you at least now have the ability to consider it and to look at those options. And I look forward to helping as much as I can. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for being here and appreciate that. We look forward to seeing you next month.
Pending any questions?
I think
I mean, what she mentioned right now about the numbers, and now that you're going to Washington, I mean, those numbers are very important when you talk about
Absolutely.
trucks. There's no city that handles more trucks than we have. We don't have the population, but we have the population in trucks. And I mean, it damages the whole city.
So you gotta talk about trucks. You always talk about the billions of dollars. You gotta talk about volume, metrics, because once you do that, they listen.
We found that helpful in the commerce, the question on even the border security side. The commerce seems to play a difference. And yes, sir, we're going to DC in a couple of weeks. Funding for the World Trade, funding for the Columbia Bridge are two of the highest priorities for us. So anything you guys can do to help with that as well too. Need 150 million.
In September, Congressman Cuellar mentioned that there's a transportation bill to fund both expansions. Hopefully that can decrease our
and we've had some good conversation with Senator Cruz as well too on a couple other pieces. So we have great legislators up there in DC as well too, and I think we just have to keep putting them to work.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right,
Thank you.
so I'll get you those answers. And if you don't mind, any of those questions that you have, forward them to us via email. Oh, perfect. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that was next. I was waiting for him to get out. So.
Any of that feedback on the percentages that
Yeah, that'd be really, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, we
Mr.
need
Chair.
a motion to extend the time.
Mr. Chair.
Second.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Martha could probably, and his staff could probably meet with us, individually, so it's obvious that the board has, questions about numbers and those type of stats. We can make that into one of the discussions so that we can get that.
Separate meeting on the side.
Yeah, and the other one would be about the funding and the strategic timing as far as the debt service payments and how the World Trade Bridge is going to combine with, Colombia. I think those two are two different, subjects that we need to discuss before we meet again and then possibly make a recommendation to the council.
Now,
Motion to
I
extend the
don't
time?
know if that's gonna impose on having the form, so you might wanna break that into groups, so yes, we'd love to
Okay.
have you.
And like that, we can share that information and you can share that with us.
And I'm interested in some of the data you guys have,
Good.
on that Mexican side, so.
Is there any way to have I mean, even if it's public, like a workshop where the whole committee can meet?
We already have it.
Yeah, we already have
We
it,
already
but you
have
know
it.
what? We only had 2 people attend from our, because we were all traveling and it was from one day to the next. As you guys started on a Wednesday with a study and the Friday the workshop came out. So hopefully we can kind of schedule a different
Yeah,
workshop for the
and
Port
we
of
look
Metro.
forward to it, and hopefully I can get some of that feedback, that questions set, so that we can do a little further, more research, and we'll get it right.
A motion,
Motion to extend the time?
Arturo, second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, move on. Okay, thanks. Yeah, please.
Elsa Hinojosa, good evening, Elsa Hinojosa from the Laredo Bridge System. I'll try to be, as brief as possible, I wanna be respectful of your time. We go through item number 1, update regarding Retro Bridge progress and any matters sensitive there. 2, we had a meeting, on these 2 expansions on February the 9th. This was provided by our consultant Sid for the World Trade Bridge expansion. We talk about, all the permitting of the U.S. Armed Corps of Engineers, permit received on 128. Your, final and conceptual plans and flood study should be ready by January 12, was ready January 20.
For the sake of time, is anything changed that we move
Okay,
forward?
I'll be quick. We're still, the consultant is, moving on with the permits, still waiting on the environmental, results for that. But we're moving forward with, together with the DAP team. Last night, it was approved, the, DAP, application amendment, for 3 million. So it was approved, for those MEPs that were requested from, CBP. We're working again with our Mexican counterparts as well. They're ready to construct. We should be ready to construct in January of 2027. They're gonna try to meet us halfway and maybe start November, late December. But hopefully they're also waiting on the last approval from their gobernador in Tamaulipas. So we're moving forward and all the permitting, hopefully when we go to Washington, we get those, expedite those permits as well. And now let me do it really quick. Item number 2, update for Columbia Bridge expansion. This was also provided by a consultant, LJA. And really quick, they're also working on the border wall as well, working together. On this one, it's already been built. Those barriers that we have on the bayous, they're trying to, that will be installed. Sorry, I didn't mention it for the World Trade. We're also working, Mayor had a meeting in January of this year at Washington to talk and discuss about the border wall as well for both projects. So trying to, they build around it or pause construction until, and let us build their bridges as well. So they're working together with that, working together with the counterparts as well. Of course, they'll be ready to construct before us, but right now, for Colombia, we're on, up to date, we're on track for those, so, really quick. See, they have, different, processes on the Mexican counterparts when it comes to permitting. If I go to our bridge staff reports, you have your packet. What we did really quick, we provided a booklet. You let us know if you want to keep it or you leave it, and we provide it at every meeting. You have your bylaws, you have your contact information, ordinance, procedures. Let us know anything else that you want us to include. You have your reports.
Can we have this digital?
Yes, we'll do it.
Updated,
Excuse me.
updated, because Mr. Joe Gonzalez, Mr. Joe Martinez is not on the list.
Did you add it?
Oh, I think we skipped that item.
On the list? The list that provides that we printed, it's from city secretary, so we'll wait when they're updated. We'll follow through and we'll send those forms as well, and we'll replace them. Do you have any questions on your World Trade Bridge in Colombia, expansions? No. Okay. Staff reports,
How
really
about,
quick.
are we gonna do the, it says item 4?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Oh, yeah, skip
What
it.
is it?
The appointment for Mr. Jose D. Martinez, who shall be the representative from the Laredo Licensed U.S. Custom Brokers Association.
Welcome.
It's a second reading.
We move forward with bridge staff reports. Really quick, from the insufficient U-turns report, we had a slight decrease. We're happy to say it. I know it's always slightly over. Compared to last month in January, we had a total of 128. Right now, we had a total of 110 U-turns combined, a reduction of 18%. We've been following through with all the promotional, with all the educating the industry as well. We've been using our social media. So insufficient funds collected this for January was 12,552 compared to December. It was a total of 15,298.50. We had a decrease of 2,746.50. So it's been working, all the promotion and all the educational that we're working on to reduce these U-turns. And we also I appreciate the time given on LMCA to give a presentation on U-turns as well to the industry. That's really gonna help out. You have your World Trade Bridge in Colombia U-turn graph. You can see 99 U-turns for World Trade and 11 for Colombia. You can see the reduction from last month. We're happy to say that on the auto replenish, we had an increase of accounts that applied for the auto replenish. On the ABI, we had a total increase of 77 accounts compared to last month. We had 7,962. Today, we have 8,039. So we've been promoting that as well so they can get their ABI. On your, any questions on the World Trade Expansion Project and Colombia reports? It's what the reports that I gave you right now. Other business, let me give a little update on the I-69. Signs to be installed on I-69 for the empties. We're working with TxDOT. We finally got into an agreement, and also with their legal team. They have the signs ready. They have the contractor. We're just waiting on a minor agreement and invoicing to see how we're gonna proceed to pay the $24,000. That's how much it's gonna cost. On your World Trade Bridge in Perla, you all had requested a project schedule. If I may use this. Maybe they can help me out. So you requested a project schedule. This is what engineering provided. This project consists of constructing of an asphalt section of 2,300 square feet, street striping for 2 single lanes of 11 feet wide, relocation of an existing grade inlet, installation of 2 stop traffic signs, subgrade work, and a 50 square feet concrete swell adjacent to asphalt section. You can see the tentative schedule that was provided. So we're moving forward, just waiting on final result from our engineering department. If you need, if you want us to email it, we can email out the information. As for the last one and any meetings that we have with on our Mexican counterparts, we discussed it with the 2 project update. We've been meeting every month, every second Tuesday, every second Monday of the month. So and we'll be providing those. I know Mr. Dominguez has been there in those meetings. We appreciate it, and we'll be having the next 2 meetings with for Colombia and World Trade Expansions will be WebEx for March and April due to the meetings and being out of town. So we'll be having them virtual, and let us know if you want to be invited. And I know this comes from the mayor, but I just wanna let you know that we're gonna keep on meeting every month.
Thank you, thank you.
So any questions?
I have an
Please.
announcement. I don't know if you want to do it.
I didn't include it here, if I may, it's just an announcement of our, and we'll be sending out through email of our upcoming Bridge Week, which will be held, for you to save the date, April 13th through the 17th, with a 5K run, 1K walk on the 19th on Sunday, so we'll send you those flyers through email.
World Trade or Columbia?
No, it's different events. There's,
Okay.
we've never had Bridge has never had a Bridge Week. So the Monday would be a proclamation by the mayor, stating that for the all next coming years, that will be considered the Bridge Week for Bridge. We will have a couple of several events. On Tuesday, we will have a ribbon cutting for World Trade Bridge Renovation Admin Office. Wednesday is the 26th anniversary, so we would have something at the conference room, brand new conference room at World Trade. We would like to have a timeline since the inception of World Trade. And we would like to have some speakers, and then Thursday, we wanna have a, LMCA will invite us to their truck, show.
Well, first of all, congratulations to you all for this project that you're putting together. You're bringing the spotlight to Laredo, to the industry. So LMCA is putting together a World Trade Showcase. And so this event is gonna be held at the arena. We will have up to 80 exhibitors. We will be having workshops throughout the day from 11 to 6. And we are bringing Derek Bars, the FMCSA administrator, to give a keynote address to all attendees. We hope that you can join us. If you can save the date, we do have a small token of appreciation to each one of you. We do want to bring you up on stage and recognize you for being, like you said earlier, the ambassadors of the industry. You play a very, very important part. And so, like I said, we're bringing the spotlight to Laredo, and it's the first time we do it, so we hope that many of you can make it. And just so you know, we just announced it today, this morning, and already we have interest from all over the country, from Mexico and Canada joining us. It'll be April 16th from 11 to 6 at the Sames Auto Arena.
Congratulations.
So with that, will be on a Thursday. Friday, we wanna have a movie night at El Portal Bridge. We will invite you for, you all, your families, and also our employees, to thank them for everything that they do. And on Sunday, we will have the 5K.
Thank you. Any other comment, questions, anybody? All right, next meeting, March 18th. Yeah, I like the counter, make it like, so easy looking at the phone.
Is that spring break? Is that spring break? No, right?
That's
Oh,
from
the
the
ninth,
9th.
the ninth is spring break.
Okay, we all agree? Yep. All right, March 18th. All right.
Was there another planned meeting prior to that meeting, or no?
No, it's every third Wednesday.
Every third Wednesday, yeah. There's already challenges of
We
that.
provided a schedule also.
Yeah.
Potential
Mr. Chair,
potential
you need a
workshop.
motion to adjourn?
Did you want?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
gonna ask.
that's-
Next,
I think we need
We
to.
need that.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Olivares was contemplating maybe recommending a potential workshop before the next meeting.
I would, yes,
Prior to
the
the
18th.
board meeting.
yes. Can we schedule that,
Schedule
or
that?
a timeframe, do we have to work together? I know
Just
that-
with the finance staff.
Yes,
What weeks are you, what week are you guys going to DC?
the end of this month.
March 1st through
No,
the
it's the
5th.
first week
The
of March.
first week of March.
March, yeah.
We can back.
So the second week of March, where you guys gotta,
We have 5 business days to post the agenda for a workshop.
Oh,
but this is a workshop.
For
Yeah.
port
Yeah.
of entry.
No, this is just a workshop.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because it's not just a formal, just to have, because otherwise we could ask a lot of
Yeah.
questions during that timeframe. and
Okay.
It'll take I'm sure it'll take sufficient time, because we all wanna keep on going, but we had to sit there and understand, take time into consideration.
So you wanted the week after the Washington?
When you all get back.
Yeah, the second week after March, if we
Okay.
can. Right. That Wednesdays for me are the best times, so,
Wednesday, the 11th?
okay, Wednesday 11.
Same
What Wednesday,
time,
next Wednesday?
same
No,
time.
Wednesday.
Would it be in the afternoon, or can we have it a little
Wednesday
earlier?
before the meeting.
Let me double check if any other,
Well, you can email us and provide us time frame so we can work off of that.
and,
Would we
it will-
anticipate meeting, 2 hours, 3 hours?
Well, it all depends on what availability they have, so we'll work off of that, so. But I'm anticipating 2 hours, yeah, maybe 3 hours, 2.5 hours, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good luck,
All right,
sir.
motion adjourned?
So moved.
Motion adjourned.
To raise, okay. All in favor, aye?
All in favor?
Yes. And then I'll answer back and I'll give you. And that will make the president change. President, so that way.